Edition with Michael Harris.
Good evening. The ink is barely dry on the Hibernia deal, but there is already a tremendous demand for oil jobs. Jim Toms has been following the story and reports that the GBS contractor has been flooded with applications.
Good morning, Nautico.
The phone hasn't stopped at the Nautico office in St. John's. Not since NTV reported last Wednesday that this joint venture had won the GBS contract. But today, as the office opened after the official announcement Friday, it was a steady buzz.
It just hasn't stopped since I walked in the door this morning, and it's constant flow of telephones and people coming in the office, and it's just crazy.
First thing we had to do, obviously, was bring on some additional help this morning just to man the telephones because they've been going crazy. And I, myself, was in the office at about 7:30, and I had people outside the door waiting with applications. So
applications have been coming in the mail, some applicants in person. The phone has brought inquiries from across Canada, even from Europe. And Nautico simply doesn't have the personnel in place yet to cope with it.
For the moment, you can send in your applications to this office. I'm not sure yet as to where they'll all end up, but we will make sure that they get to the right people when we've defined who's going to be responsible for what. Because you got to remember that the site is going to be, it's a union site, so at some point in time, the unions will be responsible to hire a lot of these people. But rather than today sending things or going and contacting unions, it's better to send it all to us. And if that's who's going to handle a lot of those areas, we'll make sure that all the applications that come in here, they won't have to resubmit them. We'll get that information to the people.
Can I put you on hold for just 1 second?
That's the way it is at the moment. But in another couple of weeks, men and machinery will be moving into the GBS construction site at Mosquito Cove, Bull Arm, Trinity Bay, to build about 25 kilometers of road and other site preparation. Whatever jobs are available will go first to Newfoundlanders living in Newfoundland.
One thing is that Newfoundlanders are going to be defined by people who are from Newfoundland or are living here for at least 6 months. Those are the people that will get the jobs first, because that's only fair. They're already here. People that are other parts of Canada, they'll get their jobs, I'm sure, as time goes on. But we want to give the Newfoundlanders that are here today the jobs first.
Jim Toms, NTV News.
Now for some more Hibernia news. Housing prices in St. John's are expected to rise by 10% as a result of the Hibernia deal. But real estate agents warn sellers not to expect windfall profits tomorrow. NTV's Lynn Burry reports.
Now that the Hibernia agreement has been finalized, many consumers are worried that housing prices will skyrocket. However, real estate agents say that won't happen, at least not overnight. There are a lot of houses for sale in St. John's right now, and as long as the supply of homes remains high, the prices will be fairly stable. According to real estate agents, before any real effects from Hibernia can be felt, the supply must drop and the demand must increase. Ted Rowe of RE/MAX says the demand will increase eventually and housing prices will go up within the next year.
We expect that there will be a continued steady increase in demand for real estate, and that should translate into an increase of about 8 to 10% in terms of number of transactions that we see, and about the same amount in terms of price increases over the next 2 or 3 years.
Derek Payne is the president of the St. John's Real Estate Board. He agrees that housing prices will increase over the next year, but he says people should not overreact. In particular, he says people now selling homes should not inflate prices.
Perhaps that may be a bit unrealistic, again, in light of our current market conditions, where we have so much on the market available right now. I don't think that that's an overly wise move.
St. John's Deputy Mayor Shani Duff says the city can accommodate an increased demand for non-profit housing, but she would like to meet with provincial officials to ensure that any future demand can be met.
For the city to sit down with Newfoundland and Labrador Housing and possibly with the Department of Social Services, who are in charge of shelter allowances and assistance to people for housing, and look at what the situation is and what we all three should be doing cooperatively to make sure that the lower end of the market is not disadvantaged.
Most people agree that it's difficult to predict what effect Hibernia will have on the housing market. It is likely that prices will increase, but even real estate agents caution that there is no need for consumers to panic. There will still be plenty of houses to choose from in the coming months. Lynn Burry, NTV News.
Well, housing prices aren't the only things that are changing in our city. The general food stores in St. John's have been taken over by Amalco Foods Limited. On October 14th, 3 general stores will become Dominion supermarkets. Fred Hutton has more on the deal in this report.
In 1956, the Steinhauer family opened Stop and Shop supermarkets. In 1983, the supermarkets were renamed the General. On Friday, a deal was struck between Amalco Foods and the General Incorporated. Amalco Foods own the Dominion outlets in the province. They will be taking over the administrative operations position on October 14th. On that day, all 3 stores will become Dominion supermarkets. The General supermarkets employ about 85 people. Officials from both companies say all the employees will be offered jobs with Dominion. Jim Bradbury is president of the General Incorporated. He declined an on-camera interview, but did say they made the deal with Amalco because the General want to focus on other business interests. Amalco Foods is owned by Bain Johnson Company Limited and the Loblaws Group of Companies. Loblaws own a large supermarket chain in Ontario. Tom Collingwood is the president of Amalco Foods. He says there's no chance Dominion supermarkets will be converted to Loblaws food stores. However, Loblaws Group of Companies have purchased a large section of land on Kenmount Road. Fred Hutton, NTV News.
And now some bad news from the post office. Canada Post has levied a 100% rate hike on some customers. The annual fee for post boxes recently jumped from $26 to $50. Canada Post says the increase was needed to bring its fees in line with rates charged by private companies. The change, by the way, only applies to people using boxes as a second way of receiving mail. Public hearings on a controversial piece of legislation began in St. John's today. As Valerie Feltham reports, some professionals are voicing concerns about proposals to regulate chiropractors. The tender there?
Yeah, it hurts, baby.
That's right there, yeah.
Over the past decade, Newfoundland chiropractors have been lobbying government for legislation that would regulate their profession. After years of waiting, that legislation will come before the House of Assembly this fall. But provincial chiropractors say the proposed bill falls short of what their association has requested. While the act will protect the public from unlicensed chiropractors and give chiropractors the right to take their own x-rays, it doesn't allow them to order laboratory tests, and x-rays performed for a chiropractor by a hospital will not be covered by MCP. And according to chiropractor Dr. Robert Burton, that section of the act will increase costs for provincial taxpayers.
You're going to be seeing chiropractors referring their patients back to the medical physician, asking the doctor to requisition an x-ray of the lumbar spine, and then the patient will be followed up at the hospital for the x-rays. So you'll have the x-rays billed to the government, but you'll also have a medical doctor's visit on top of that.
According to Burton, these flaws in the legislation simply highlight political infighting between the chiropractic and medical profession.
So there are medical doctors, still today, here in Newfoundland, that are adamantly opposed to chiropractors.
But a number of groups say they have real concerns about the proposed legislation. The Newfoundland Dietetic Association, for example, is concerned with a section of the legislation that would give chiropractors the right to prescribe nutritional supplements. And from the Newfoundland Hospital and Nursing Home Association, there are several concerns regarding hospital privileges.
Well, the Hospital Association, since this has been an issue, has recommended to our members that the access by chiropractors to x-rays be through a physician. We're concerned that if that changes, there are cost implications, there's quality assurance implications, and there's the question of how accountability through to the board would be worked out.
Today was just the first in a series of meetings on chiropractic legislation. In the coming weeks, 25 groups and individuals will appear before the Social Legislation Review Committee. And because of that public interest, the committee may now schedule hearings in other parts of the province. Valerie Feltham, NTV News.
The Assault-Manuan Bridge dispute may become the focus of a public investigation. The Wells Cabinet says an innocent mistake forced government to re-tender the project this summer. But as NTV's Darren Rogers reports, the Public Accounts Committee may investigate the mistake that cost taxpayers a cool $1.3 million.
Opposition transportation critic Bob Aylward has received a refusal from the Premier to have the Auditor General look into the awarding of a tender to McNamara Construction for work on the Assault-Manuan Bridge. Aylward's request stems from the failure of Work Service and Transportation to award the contract on the first tender call. This is because of an administrative oversight, according to Minister Dave Gilbert. but that oversight has cost the province $1.3 million because the lowest bid on the first call was that amount lower than on the second call. And interestingly enough, the bids came from the same company, McNamara Construction. Now Aylward has called on the Public Accounts Committee to investigate the matter. And Chairman Loyola Hearn says he will bring the matter to the committee because he feels it is too coincidental.
If nobody is looking after the shop at certain times of the year, well then how come all the other business is carried out without any problems? So as I say, it'll be interesting to find out if it was an innocent mistake or if there were games played behind the scenes.
Hearn says he will bring the matter before the Public Accounts Committee on Wednesday morning, when an answer to the investigation request should be available. However, Hearn says with the majority of committee members being Liberal, any possibility of an investigation may be killed. Meanwhile, the Premier's office says it is satisfied with Transportation's excuse for the incident, also noting that an Auditor General's investigation won't be necessary. However, admitting the loss of $1.3 million is an unfortunate event. For NTV News, I'm Darren Rogers.
Rescue officials are planning to downsize the search for a lost 727. This weekend, searchers located part of the jet's fuselage. Now, officials in Halifax say chances of finding survivors are remote. Today, rescue workers who thought they had spotted a life raft discovered the debris was actually a piece of tarpaulin. The Peruvian jet was carrying 16 employees of Fawcett Airlines when it disappeared off the coast of Newfoundland last Tuesday. Now, we are going to a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at business briefs.
We asked the Newmans to serve Maple Leaf deli-style cold cuts for a day.
What, are you crazy?
They had a few reservations.
We're going to lose the business.
But their customers...
Ben? Where's my pickle?
Were as happy as ever.
Okay, I'm impressed.
I even like the fancy schmancy package.
Maple Leaf, the new-fashioned way.
Rockland Associates is pleased to announce Newfoundland's premier computer show, Computers East Exhibition and Conference, with special guest speaker Jack S. Kilby, the original inventor of the microchip. This event will take place September 18th and 19th at the Radisson Plaza Hotel and Convention Center. Drop by to visit the exhibitors or plan to attend one of the open seminars. For further information, call Craig Tucker or Valerie King at 754-2224. Computers East, the next generation.
There once was an artist, Leonardo. He listed with Remax and his house sold quickly. This impressed his neighbor Vincent, who then called Remax to sell his home. Fact is, Remax's top producers sell more real estate than any other organization in...
Attention soccer fans, be watching for a special souvenir edition of the Newfoundland Herald, where you'll find a complete history of soccer in our province with many team photos. The Newfoundland Soccer Association's 40th anniversary special souvenir edition, available in the September 22nd issue of the Newfoundland Herald. On sale now.
Now, when you come in for a Swiss Chalet quarter chicken dinner, we'll send you to the movies with a 2-for-1 Empire Theater movie pass. The Swiss Chalet dinner features a tender quarter chicken with tasty fries or baked potato, toasted roll, and tangy sauce for dipping. All for just $5.15. Then take in a movie at an Empire Theater with a special 2-for-1 movie pass. This offer is available while supplies last and is an exclusive production of Swiss Chalet.
And now for a look at today's business briefs. Thousands of Kuwaitis are streaming into Saudi Arabia after Iraq opened the border between Kuwait and its wealthy Arab neighbor. ABC's Greg Dobbs reports from the Saudi border.
They are coming now by the thousands. Until recently, citizens of one of the world's richest nations, today they are just refugees fleeing danger and hardship.
All night they're shooting, all night.
They took anything.
So, food?
Food, there's no food.
After a month and a half under siege, these Kuwaitis finally fled their country completely in the open. Some here speculate that this is Iraq's way of mixing terrorists into the rush of refugees. Some just think Saddam Hussein wants to empty Kuwait of a hostile, harmful population.
Oh, old boys are resistant. If they have guns, they resist.
But Iraqi soldiers are cracking down.
They're not necessarily searching for weapons or for foreigners. They're searching for anything. But they tend to search quite thoroughly.
Some say soldiers search, others say steal.
They just stealing, and take the women, and destroy buildings, and just that.
Many of these new refugees see the same solution.
People want war if that's what it takes. At least most of the people I know around me, yes, would like to put an end to it.
Kuwait will go without America and European country to help us. Kuwait will go, really.
Meantime, these new refugees will go south into Saudi Arabia and wait. Greg Dobbs, ABC News at the Saudi-Kuwaiti border.
Britain today became the third European nation to expel employees of Iraqi embassies. In recent days, Saddam Hussein has received harsh criticism from the European community and the United Nations. This weekend, the Security Council passed a resolution denouncing raids on foreign compounds inside Iraq, and the UN is threatening to expand its blockade by closing off air routes into Iraq. NBC's Dennis Murphy reports.
The French threw 29 Iraqis out of their country and dispatched 4,000 French Foreign Legion desert troops. An angry response to the Iraqi abduction of 5 French hostages from its Kuwait embassy. Britain's Prime Minister Thatcher is in Prague this morning, but 8,000 British soldiers and 100 tanks are getting ready to ship out to Saudi Arabia. Secretary of State Baker says he's more than happy with West Germany's $2 billion contribution to defray the costs of the Gulf operations. This week, more than last, the showdown with Iraq is a truly multinational confrontation. There are commitments now for 80,000 non-U.S. troops in the field. At the United Nations, the Europeans, led now by the French, are drafting a resolution to close Iraqi airspace. An embargo against flights in and out of Iraq would be an escalation and difficult to enforce.
If there's an aeroplane determined to break the embargo, then it will just go on bravely flying through the air, and short of shooting it down, there's nothing you can do.
Shooting a plane down could be regarded as an act of war. With a commitment now of troops on the ground, the British, French, and Americans will be in a fight together if it comes to that. Dennis Murphy, NBC News, London.
When we come back, adopted children who want to find their birth parents.
Others have raised prices. Volkswagen announced no price increase. In fact, we've lowered the price on our 1990 Golf. So the best-selling car in Europe is now even more affordable in Atlantic Canada. With more power and more passenger cargo room than Honda Civic, the versatile Golf is priced over $1,200 less than last year. That's Volkswagen value. The 1990 Golf. It's time to think about Volkswagen again.
Introducing Hot Wings, new from Kentucky Fried Chicken. Tender chicken wings, a crispy coating, and just a little extra zip. Get them while they're hot. Hot Wings, new from Kentucky Fried Chicken.
It is certainly an emotional subject. Adoptees who want to find their birth parents can now get help from the provincial government. Changes to Bill 52 now provide an active search program for people involved in the adoption process. We have a feature report from NTV's Fred Hutton.
The bond between a mother and child is hard to explain, but it is one of the most concrete and permanent relationships inherent in all walks of life. Keeping this in mind, every year between 50 and 60 mothers, for an array of reasons, part with their children. They give their child up for adoption in hope the new parents will provide a more secure and stable environment for the infant. 50 to 60 babies may sound like a lot, but it is only 10% of the 550 adults waiting to adopt a child. It's a waiting list that lasts between 7 and 10 years. But giving up and adopting a child is only the beginning of issues related to the adoption process. The post-adoption process deals with adoptees and biological parents who later decide to search for each other. In June of this year, Bill 52 was passed in the House of Assembly. Bill 52 is a piece of legislation that governs the post-adoption process. Various amendments were made to the adoption bill dated 1972, but the issue of adoption has been under review for much longer than that. In 1986, the Minister of Social Services was Charlie Brett. His department released a white paper on reorganization of post-adoption services. But that's not all that was done. The federal government granted Dr. Paul Sachdev $200,000 to research the adoption process. Sachdev's extensive research lasted for 3 years. He and social workers from the Department of Social Services interviewed hundreds of people who had been involved in the adoption process. Sachdev's research compared legislation and statistics from all over North America. The final result, a book entitled Unlocking the Adoption Files.
The idea was to find out and examine the attitude of the principals involved in the adoption toward unsealing the adoption records. As you know, this has been a very...
The book received complimentary national attention. The Toronto Star and the Globe and Mail both ran editorials praising Sachdev for his findings. But Sachdev's recommendations were given little attention by the new Liberal government here in Newfoundland.
Making the recommendations that he did it have any input at all in the decision that was made in the bill that was recently passed?
No, from where I sat as Minister of Social Services and the recent decisions that we made here in the Department of Social Services, the recommendations and the implementation that we received and the decisions, the final decisions that was made specifically with the consultation and the cooperation of the associations and the organizations and the individual parents and people themselves across the province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
When contacted by NTV News, Dr. Sachdev was very surprised to learn that Bill 52 had been passed by the House of Assembly. Sachdev was led to believe the government would be consulting with him on the issue, but that never happened. According to opposition MHA Lynn Verge, the bill was passed with little debate. Verge said the Department of Social Services pleaded for speedy passage to benefit urgent cases. But once again, government bureaucracy prevailed.
The real problem is that there was a delayed proclamation provision in it, which the minister either didn't understand or which he and his officials have been quite negligent in addressing, because with that provision, the amendments didn't become law as soon as they were passed in the House, which would be the usual case. They won't become law until the minister goes to Cabinet and gets a routine decision proclaiming them in force on a certain date. Now, maybe he doesn't...
Another reason the bill received little attention can be attributed to the Meech Lake issue. The bill was passed in the midst of a constitutional debate that dominated national attention. Implementing an active search program is important to many people. Last year, Child Welfare and Social Services received over 1,000 inquiries. Those inquiries are from people who want access to adoption files that are kept here, locked in a vault on Harvey Road. Elizabeth Crawford is the Assistant Director of Child Welfare. She says the number of inquiries has doubled over the past year.
We've received more and more inquiries over the last number of years, to the point where last year we had over 1,000 inquiries.
Really?
On a program that's never been advertised.
So you're talking about people who have given their child up for adoption and then later inquire about it? Or?
Not only them, people who have been adopted, birth parents who are making inquiries, other birth relatives, siblings, people themselves who have been adopted, you know.
Right. Paul Tobin is 28 years old. He has known for many years that he was adopted. Paul will be getting married next year, and he wants to tell his birth parents. 10 months ago, he went to social services to inquire about them. Paul was very surprised to learn that he also has a sister.
Right now, I'm getting married next year, and I'd like to find my family, or my birth family, and I'd like to let them know that I'm doing okay, that I'm fine, and I'd like to find my sister in particular. Of course, the option to find my father and my mother I'd like to do that as well. But I'd like to let them know I'm okay, and I'd like to have them see that I'm fine and I'm getting married, and I'd like them to attend my wedding and just let them basically know that I'm okay and everything worked out fine.
Time is a big factor for Paul. He wants to find his family before the wedding, and the further delay of the bill may influence his search. Paul's adoptive parents are very supportive, and that's the case with the majority of adopting parents. But some adoptees feel their rights are being violated. They feel they have no input in the decision to be given up for adoption. And then, when they do reach the age of majority and are allowed to inquire about their birth parents, the process can be discouraging.
I've started to do some searching on my own, but I find a lot of places I go to try to search, a lot of them throw up this so-called brick wall that's in front of you all the time. You can't get any further with the information that you have, and that's a big problem.
The child's right to know is balanced by the parent's right to privacy. John Efford feels the law is fair, and that the new process will help people who are searching for each other.
There's nobody's rights that's going to be infringed on, because everybody must give consent, and there's nobody's going to be open to any losing any of their privacy or any of their rights under the Constitution.
But Dr. Sachdev has some reservations about the amended bill.
One is that there is no equal or similar rights that are granted to birth parents. So the bill is slanted in favor of the adoptees. Number two, what about the adoptive parents who might need information when the child is minor, information regarding the background information or medical information, which they might need for the care and development of the child.
Many people sit on different sides of the fence when it comes to the adoption issue, but for the most part, they are generally happy that some sort of legislation will be in place by mid-October. For Paul Tobin and many other adoptees like him, they have to realize, though, that the new legislation does not mean they will find the people they're searching for. If social services can contact Paul's parents and sister, it is their right to say they don't want to meet him.
If it does happen, that's obviously something I'm going to have to accept and live with the fact that they don't want to know any more information about me, that they gave me up for adoption, and that's fine, sort of thing, you know. But if they do want to contact me, well, that'll be great, because I've searched and I haven't been able to do it on my own, and to know now that the government is there to help us, it's a big step. I think it's a step long overdue, and it's going to be a step towards a better service that the government can give us and to help us along, you know.
For NTV News, I'm Fred Hutton.
Now for a look at tomorrow's weather. That's our program for tonight. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night.